Everyone believes early humans captured and trained wild wolves, but the wolves actually domesticated themselves first. During the Pleistocene epoch between 15,000 and 30,000 years ago, Ice Age survival was brutal. Human hunter-gatherer camps began producing something entirely new to the prehistoric landscape: permanent trash. The emergence of permanent human garbage dumps created a completely new and highly caloric ecological niche then. Apex predators usually avoided human fire, but the most marginalized outcast wolves faced severe starvation risks. These weaker wolves realized that scavenging near human camps provided an easy alternative to hunting large prey. A prominent evolutionary anthropologist calls this specific adaptation process the survival of the friendliest now. Wolves that displayed less aggression could safely eat human scraps without triggering a defensive spear attack. Over dozens of generations, these scavenging wolves naturally selected themselves for reduced fear and aggression. They traded their apex predator autonomy for guaranteed meals by simply tolerating close proximity to our fires. Humans did not actively tame these wild beasts. We merely provided the discarded calories that fueled their shift. This passive survival strategy allowed the friendliest wolves to outlive their aggressive and starving relatives. They successfully carved out a permanent biological space right on the very edge of human agricultural expansion. This self-directed domestication completely altered their behavioral instincts over several thousand harsh winters. If they just became friendly scavengers, how did their entire physical appearance change so drastically over time? The physical traits we find cute in dogs are actually unintentional biological side effects of breeding for tameness. Scientists officially refer to this precise cluster of physical and behavioral changes as Domestication Syndrome. A Soviet geneticist proved this phenomenon during a famous 1959 silver fox breeding experiment now. He selected wild foxes solely for their friendly reactions to humans, without selecting any specific physical traits. Within a few generations, these foxes spontaneously developed floppy ears, curly tails, and spotted coat patterns. This happens because breeding for tameness fundamentally alters the migration of embryonic neural crest cells early. These specific stem cells are completely responsible for forming the adrenal glands that produce stress hormones. Selecting for calm behavior naturally causes a severe reduction of neural crest cells during embryonic development. Because these exact same cells also build facial cartilage and skin pigment, the animal physical body breaks down. The clear biological link between adrenaline suppression and cartilage stiffness perfectly explains those floppy ears. Wild wolves need upright ears for hunting, but domesticated scavengers sacrificed cartilage strength for calmness. Their jaws shrank, their teeth became smaller, and their fur lost the natural camouflage required for wild survival. These physical deformities made them look perpetually juvenile, stripping away their terrifying predatory features. Humans instinctively respond to these juvenile features because they closely mirror the biology of our own infants. This massive genetic mutation paved the way for an entirely new psychological relationship between our two species. Once their bodies changed to look less threatening, how did they manage to hack our brains and demand our nurture? Dogs evolved unique facial muscles specifically to mimic human expressions and trigger our deep maternal instincts. Anatomy experts identified a specific eye muscle called the levator anguli oculi medialis in modern domestic dogs. This highly specialized muscle is totally absent in wild wolves and allows dogs to raise their inner eyebrows high. Creating these puppy dog eyes directly manipulates the human nervous system into feeling intense empathy for them. A Japanese behaviorist conducted a groundbreaking neurochemical study on this mutual gaze in 2015. His research team measured hormone levels in humans and dogs staring into each other's eyes for exactly 30 minutes. The results proved that eye contact between species triggers a massive release of oxytocin in the human brain, fast. Oxytocin is the exact bonding chemical released when a human mother looks directly at her own newborn biological baby. By evolving a muscle to make their eyes look larger, dogs literally hijacked this mammalian maternal feedback loop. Our brains reward us with a chemical rush of love every time we provide food and shelter to these mutant carnivores. This powerful cross-species neurochemical manipulation guaranteed that humans would willingly protect them forever. Dogs became the only animal on the planet capable of reading human social cues and pointing gestures so accurately. We integrated them into our hunting parties and home security systems, forming a mutually beneficial survival pact. For thousands of years, this biological partnership remained perfectly balanced around mutual labor and shared food. Dogs worked beside humans to herd livestock, guard small settlements, and pull sleds across frozen winter landscapes. They were functional working partners, possessing healthy bodies shaped by the rigorous demands of physical utility. But the Industrial Revolution replaced working dogs with machines, shifting their purpose entirely toward aesthetics. If this partnership was perfectly balanced, why did humans eventually twist it into creating extreme modern breeds? The creation of modern dog breeds was a sudden 19th century invention, driven entirely by ego and consumerism. The explosion of competitive dog shows in 1859 Victorian England changed canine history permanently. Wealthy elites started treating functional animal partners like living status symbols and highly customizable toys. They utilized a genetic concept called forced neoteny, which means retaining juvenile physical features permanently. Breeders isolated extreme genetic mutations and forced dogs to reproduce strictly within closed family bloodlines. This rapid selective breeding prioritized strange cosmetic aesthetics over basic health and cardiovascular function. We flattened their faces, shortened their legs, and compressed their spines to satisfy our bizarre visual desires. Today, modern brachycephalic breeds like pugs and French bulldogs suffer from severe lifelong respiratory distress. Their compressed skulls crush their narrow nasal passages, forcing them to gasp for basic oxygen their entire lives. Despite these horrific genetic deformities, consumers continue purchasing these suffering animals for social media. We betrayed the original symbiotic pact by turning a healthy wolf descendant into a broken genetic experiment now. This massive biological manipulation highlights the terrifying extent of the human desire to play God with nature. We took an apex predator that once hunted our ancestors and reduced it to a fragile accessory struggling to breathe. This consumerist obsession reveals how modern humans prioritize superficial cuteness over functional animal welfare. The working partnership forged on the Ice Age savanna has devolved into a reflection of our own aesthetic vanity. What is the ultimate evolutionary consequence of wolves trading their autonomy for a permanent place inside our beds? Wolves underwent this radical transformation by trading their freedom for guaranteed survival in a changing world. To understand the success of this strategy, we must look at the stark global population contrast existing today. Hi there! We're introducing a new feature where I can read this aloud in a natural, human-like voice. Meanwhile, there are roughly 900 million modern dogs thriving securely across every single human continent. The strict biological definition of evolutionary fitness is simply the ability to survive and pass on genetic code. By that purely scientific metric, achieving human dependence makes dogs the most successful carnivore on the planet. They realized that hunting elk was incredibly dangerous, but manipulating human empathy provided infinite resources. Humans believe we dominated and conquered the wild wolf, bending nature entirely to our own agricultural willpower. In reality, the wolf successfully colonized the human heart, ensuring we would spend our own resources feeding them. They did not just move into our bedrooms, they successfully secured their entire species against permanent extinction. If this evolutionary history changed your perspective on the animal sleeping at your feet, subscribe to our channel. We explore the strange behavioral patterns shaping our world, and our next video will completely blow your mind. Wolves transformed themselves because surviving as a cute pet is statistically better than dying as an apex predator.